What is up, guys? We are back. This is The Real Deal with Casey and Jason, where we talk real life, real experiences, occasionally real estate. Got a new friend of ours here today.
How's it going, guys? My name is Joseph Schretzenmaier. Awesome to be here. Thanks for having me.
What's up, Joe?
So Joe is, where are you from initially?
So grew up, born and raised Downingtown, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So went to high school, Downingtown West, Whippets. A lot of people around here don't know it too well, so I usually explain it's right around Westchester. A lot of people get that.
Okay.
So, and then from there, I know we'll transfer into all this, but moved to Delaware to go to University of Delaware.
Nice,
man. You get
So-
the Downingtown East and Downingtown West. You get Westchester, Henderson, and Ruston, and all those teams
So
up there.
you know them.
Yeah,
You know 'em.
man.
Yeah.
So I used to train up at Bishop Shanahan up
Okay.
there. Yeah, some of those guys up there
Good
a
stuff.
while
They
ago.
always kicked our ass in lacrosse.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they recruited. That's what we did.
So fun fact, we have another Steelers fan in the building.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But also,
back to back.
Yeah.
also you got to fill us in on this. Also, Birds fan.
So
Yeah, that's different.
Birds by blood, and
Okay.
Steelers is the chosen team. So it's kind of like, one family leading into another.
Yeah.
Like born and raised, always a Birds fan. Went to Eagles games, tailgated with the fam, and then now that I'm kind of creating my own family with my girlfriend, and we're building that. We are a Steelers family.
Wow,
so
man. That is
bit of a
rare,
transition,
dude.
yeah.
That is rare.
And I don't want to talk about this past week. We'll move on from that. But,
That was interesting. So the last podcast we did, we had our buddy Jeremy Ritz on here, and he's a big-time Steelers fan.
Yeah, through and through.
And a huge football guy and all that.
Yeah.
Did you play football in high school?
So I played 1 year in middle school,
Okay.
and then decided to make the switch to lacrosse full time.
Yep.
So year round travel, just trying to get recruited to play,
Yep.
in college, which led me to actually play D3 first semester.
It's
That's
awesome.
sweet.
Lacrosse is a sport that I definitely would have loved. I know for a fact if it was a spring sport, though.
Yeah, and it was new, like when you and I were in high school.
It was.
Like it was, man, it probably came to Bow Manor like 05, 06.
I think right around
Something
my
like that.
junior year possibly.
Yeah.
But it was a sport that I definitely would have liked.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked football. I was a baseball player. I played baseball in college.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a mix between the two, I think.
Yep.
And I think I would have definitely liked it. But being a spring sport, I wasn't going to give baseball up. So fill us in a little bit. So I know some of your background. Jason just met you, so this will be kind of good.
Yeah,
You can
awesome.
ask
Yeah.
ask some questions and all that. But fill us in on like how we met. So we met through Master Networks.
Yep.
And the business that you have now and like how that came to be.
Yeah, so quite a story. So it's actually kind of cool how it's like transitioning and picking up. So from getting recruited to play D3 lacrosse, went to Catholic University for a semester, transferred to University of Delaware, got my bachelor's in science for construction engineering and management. So from there, the whole goal was to become a project manager, more construction focused.
Yeah.
And where did that come from? Was that like a family tie or something, or you just had interest in that?
A little bit. I knew I wanted to be like half outside, half inside. Like I didn't want to be stuck behind a desk, which is kind of where that entrepreneurial, not the 9-to-5 mindset kind of started to the fire started to burn.
Sure.
So that's what led me to wanting to be a project manager in the construction realm, to not be a superintendent out on the field all day, but kind of be like a desk jockey and then walk around on the field and make sure everything's going right.
Right.
Which I did do 6 months after I graduated, like 4-6 months. Great job. I was set. Everything was, at year and a half, you get PM. Another 2 years, you get PM1, PM2. You can work your way up to, making $150K a year, and in 10 years. And it's just like, you start to have this realization that, holy shit, I'm in the rat race.
Yep. Yeah.
So
somebody else is controlling what you
Yep.
do.
Yeah.
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 And the
So
pace that it happens.
yeah, it happens quick. And I'm glad I had the experience that I did, but I'm also glad I got out as soon as I did, because the longer I feel people go in the 9-to-5, the harder it is to break that.
For sure.
Because they get comfortable.
Yeah.
And they get a family. And once you have people to support besides yourself, taking that risk is much riskier.
Far more difficult.
Right. So that's kind of what helped me pull the trigger. But it actually started with, kind of like a conversation between my friend and I, texting. He was in Colorado at the time. He had moved out there for like a year and a half. He was doing his own thing. He was working on like what's the word? Virtual. Sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
virtual. I
Gotcha.
blanked. But he was working virtual for TransUnion. So he was doing sales for them. Again, great job, stable, comfortable. He was able to travel still. Like he literally moved out to Colorado with my other high school friends as well. Like our high school friends are all still like very well, like tight knit.
Yeah.
So he was out there and we were texting, just catching up. I had just gone out there for 4th of July. A couple months later, we were talking about, I forget what it even was, but it was late at night, and I was actually at the Chesapeake House.
Yeah.
I remember like being downstairs, like vividly, like the moment it happened,
Yeah.
and this like it just clicked. And we were going back and forth, and he was like, "When are we buying a business?" And I was just like, "Right now." So literally, we created like within that like 15 minutes of saying like right now, we went on like bizbuy.com. We created an Excel sheet, and then the next day we spent just banging down the list. Anything that looked like a potential business that we could run. We were looking at hair salons, landscaping companies, like all this shit. And then we stumbled upon Squeaky Clean and Dry. And it was carpet cleaning, it still is, carpet cleaning, water damage restoration, mold remediation. And we were like,
Give this a shot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we reached out to the previous owner and the business broker, and we set up a meeting to talk to both of them. The conversation went really well. We got access to all their tax returns, their past 3 months, and even further. So we ran the numbers, and it was extremely profitable. But he just wanted out because going through a divorce, he wanted to get into Airbnb. He was just looking for something new, so he was just like,
yeah, I would be done with this.
yeah. He was done.
Yeah.
So we got it for pennies on the dollar when in retrospect.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And so you're running that now, you and your buddy? Mm-hmm. Wow, man.
And when was that, like timeline, when was that you bought or took over the business?
Exactly 1 year ago this month.
Wow.
And what does that mean for you, like, that you took it over? Are you doing the work? Do you have employees? What's going on?
Yep. A little bit of both.
Okay.
So right now, obviously starting out, and this is something cool too that I feel like not a lot of people do. You guys almost did it with the mosquito business, but you then realize, okay, it makes more sense to start this on our own because no company is really like being sold that has that customer base and everything. But I think it's like super beneficial for people to understand and look into buying an established business, making sure it's established. But like if you already have that, and you can just
take over a customer base and
just you're not going to get burned out because when the gears are turning and you're grinding those first couple of years, you're building off of something that already is running. Yeah, it's been in business since 2008.
Okay,
so it's established, and we're just in there just pounding the marketing, like looking to hire good people to really grow this thing. And I think it's hard to get burned out at that point because it's already running. You don't have to it takes a lot of stress out of it.
Right.
Huh. Yeah, in hindsight, honestly, it would have been so much easier to buy something because it's hard to start a business and go from zero to what you want to. Like when you have no name out there, you're literally starting from scratch, like hoping, honestly, that some of your family and friends that you have on, Facebook, when you make posts, are going to use your services. It's difficult to start. And then, like you said, it takes a good couple years of that grind to even get to the point where you're like, all right, we're actually going to make a little bit of money doing this. You know what I mean? Like you really start in the red, even if you don't invest a whole lot like we did. But I think that's huge. Yeah, if you can find a business and if it aligns with what you're looking for. So like take us through that a little bit. What were you looking for when you're starting this spreadsheet? You said you looked at everything. Like were you looking at something that like, hey, we can add our skill set to this, or was it a location thing? A customer base thing? Like what were you looking for? What were some of the criteria?
Profitability.
I like it.
I think we're a little gung-ho and kind of like the millennial mindset of, oh yeah, we know social media, we know marketing, like we could take over any
business. Throw a post out there, right? And
little did we know. But anyway, that was kind of the mindset. So it's kind of like anything that we take over, we can find the gaps and really see how we can expand this and take a look at like the market analysis and go from there. Did I think I'd be doing this? No, but funny enough, I actually have ties to the whole mold aspect side of things because my little brother, he is 11 years younger than me, but he developed an autoimmune disease from a mold toxicity in our home in Downingtown, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that whole renovation, like my parents had to rip out the whole front of their house. They did under the kitchen sink. They had to rip out like stucco. It was like 15 grand, like just for the front of the house. And like seeing my parents like go through that and seeing my little brother and the side effects that like mold had on him, it was just like, and it didn't click at the moment we were looking at the business, but like going through the training and like, you know, when you start talking to people and you truly are trying to help them and you know your product is the best and it's going to help them, you just start to like, something comes up and you're like, you know what, I do have extreme ties to this. Like this does really matter to me. And it just makes selling it that much easier because
when you believe in your product and especially if you have that connection to it, that means that hits home with you.
Yeah.
That makes, I mean, I want to say it makes your job easier, but it makes your job easier because like, you've got the ties, like you said. That makes sense. Perfect sense.
I just listened to a podcast, and the guy who started Quest Bars.
Oh man,
he has a
did
huge
you listen to Better Cool?
Yes,
Better School?
yes.
Yep,
and he had a podcast with I can't remember the guy's name. He has a huge podcast, but he started Quest Bars, and he was talking about before him and his two best friends started this. It was like a software security company, and he's like, we were really successful, and he's like, we built this thing into like I don't even know how many, probably $100 million company. But he's like, I didn't have any tie to the product. He was like, I did my job very well and I sold it and it was fine, but I burned out because I didn't really, we were kind of selling a product that the only reason people would buy it is if they thought their employees would be dishonest. And he's like, I didn't really feel like it was something that was really all that needed. It was kind of like playing on people's bad side. And he's like, I just didn't. So he quit that job, started Quest because obesity ran in his family. And he was like, my mom was obese, my sister was obese, like my family was obese. And he's like, when I came up across these hard times, he's like, what got me through that was thinking of those people. So I see that tie with this now. When you're like, this is a grind, it's not going to be easy. You're going to come across challenges, but when you think of people like your brother and the tie you have to that, that's what keeps you pushing through. You do have like that emotional tie to it.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Which is huge.
And that same podcast, he mentions they grew, 58,000%?
It was like 57,000%
Something
Quest Bars.
Crazy. Like their first year, like they were expanding so fast. And again, it was because he had ties to it. Yeah. It was because he was able to relate and
he believed in his product.
Express that emotion. That, you know, they were literally getting so big so fast that they weren't even able to stay in a warehouse because they would fit it out and then already have to get like another
outgrow it before they even moved in.
I was a reason that they grew that.
You're eating all the Quest Bars.
Yes.
You turned me on to Quest Bars, actually.
Yeah.
Little hack. My girlfriend actually told me about this. If you put them in the microwave for like 5 seconds.
I've heard that. I've never done it, but I've heard that.
I actually haven't tried it either, but apparently you put like the cookie dough or the
That's
birthday
the one
cake.
that
It's
I eat.
like,
It's the cookie dough. Yeah. I've heard it's amazing. I've never done it.
It's like actual cookie dough.
The next podcast, we're going to get a whole bunch of Quest Bars, fire up the microwave, and we're going to try it out. So that's awesome, man. It's good to hear that story. And like, I've talked about buying businesses. Like we've talked about that a lot on the show, and we've started some things. And I just think it's cool to talk to someone who's done it. You're a young guy too. How old are you?
24.
So 24 years old, running your own business that's profitable, and you were able to buy it. How did the financing work on that? Did you guys have a nest egg that you were able to purchase it, or did you finance it, SBA? How did that work?
Yeah, so we financed it. We couldn't get an SBA because we didn't have any collateral. We didn't have any assets, and we obviously weren't going to rope our parents into something. So, you know, we're men now.
Yeah.
So, you know, and this is kind of like our baby, so we're not going to put that liability and that risk on anybody else but ourselves, because it is sink or swim. And we needed to feel that. So we went I don't even know what you would call it. But it was a personal loan. We went through a company called BHG. I don't know if you guys ever heard.
No.
Essentially, they gather investors' money and they offer it without any collateral, but the interest rate is like 16.5%.
Yeah.
Got it.
Hard money for buying a business.
Yep. Yeah. And, you know, that really was our only option. So we are currently looking to refinance. But, I mean, we're still profitable.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And, you know.
Because I think that's a big question that people are going to have when they hear buying a business. They're like, well, I don't have X amount of dollars saved up, or I don't have, you know what I mean? Like they're going to think immediately people go to an excuse why they can't do it. But you guys made it happen.
Yeah. We only put in like $15,000 each, and that was just because we had that saved up from our previous jobs. But and that was literally just so we could, make it an even amount for the loan.
Yeah,
so we could have done it with 0.
Wow.
Yeah.
So.
And I think at this point, I don't know if you need 1 or 2 years, but with SBA, they will refinance, I believe, business debt. So you should start looking into that.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because as soon as the business is profitable, you should be able to refinance it using the finances of the business.
They were also looking for like a year.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Yeah. So we're right at that mark. We're trying to refinance with PNC.
Cool.
And go through all of that. But it helps a lot, especially master networks. You start to understand and how everything works, and not only that, but you get to know people who are able to help you and want to help you.
Yeah.
So that's really cool too. So
what are your thoughts on master networks? Just because we've had a couple people on here that were in the group.
Yeah.
Like, just overall, what do you think?
I think it's awesome. So I originally heard about the group because I was contacted by one of my buddies who I went to University of Delaware with. We were in the same fraternity. He's now a realtor. He's kicking ass over at Compass. And he invited me to like a network. It's a networking group called Prime Time. We've grown the networking group from like 4 was the original. I missed the first meeting. I was away. But it was like a 4 or 5 core group. Now we have like around 12, 13.
That's awesome.
In the matter of like 6 months. So really cool, but kind of like the main coordinator, I guess you could say, Dave Balance. He's awesome. He's also a part of Master Networks. We were talking one day, and he just threw it out there for anybody interested. Check out Master Networks. I came as a guest. I think you have like 3 guest runs, and then you sign up. I had 1 guest run. I signed up the next day, just because I saw the value in it.
Yeah,
and
the relationships, man.
Of course, and not only that, but it's the people that you get introduced
that
to.
lift you up.
Right.
Yep.
And being around that core circle of like, being 24, I go hang out with my friends, and it's like we're talking about the game, or we're talking about like, what do you want to drink, or like but I want to be around people who have that mindset. And obviously, like, you can be friends, but like you want to surround yourself. And I truly believe, I'm sure Grant Cardone and like all these guys talk about surrounding yourself with, your 5 people that you surround yourself with the most is going to be like who you're most like.
100%.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Master Networks really steps in for me, is to provide those people that I wouldn't normally know, and those business owners I wouldn't normally have a connection with, and it makes it possible.
Makes
so that's
perfect
really
sense.
cool.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great reason.
Part of, I mean, this podcast too has done that for us, because it's like, we interview, talk to a lot of people that own businesses. Obviously, through our jobs doing real estate and mortgages, we know a lot of people and have a network, but we're able to kind of connect with them, I think, through this too. And yeah, it is huge. It's, I guess let's pivot to the next thing. Because this is something I've talked about with Jason. Hang around Jason, this dude's like in great shape, right? So like hanging around with him, it elevates my physical thing, because I'm like, well, it's possible. Jason's doing it, and he still eats ice cream sometimes. Just saying,
all the time.
What kind? The Halo Top, or what are you talking about?
I'm in a state of depression right now because the
Ben and Jerry's.
Real McCoy shut down. The Real McCoy right here in Chesapeake City is really
world famous ice cream.
I can't keep it in the house, dude, because if I keep it in the house, it's gone.
Which one? Not the. Was it Maggie Moo's? Not that one, right?
No, this is a soft serve ice cream place right at the foot of the Chesapeake City Bridge.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Real McCoy. And
yeah,
because if I buy Halo Top or Ben and Jerry's or whatever, it's gone. Like that night, it's not lasting another night. So I can't keep it in the house.
Kind of like a side note, really quick, really funny story.
Yeah.
So I had just gotten out of prepping for a bodybuilding show, and I bought my girlfriend Halo Top she was at work, and I brought her both of us Halo Top, and I was home waiting, and it was like an hour before she got home. So I like had a couple bites of mine, and like out of that prep mindset, like all you can think about is food, and you're just always hungry, and not being strict obviously strict, but it was like a cheat meal. So like I allow myself like once or twice a week to have one meal. And I started eating the Halo Top. I was like, I'll just have a couple bites before dinner. Like, I'm a grown man. I can eat dessert before dinner. And I tried a bite of hers, and I swear I blacked out for like 2 minutes. And I was trying to find all the chunks.
Yeah, dude, that's the way to go.
And before I know it, the whole thing is gone. And I text her, I'm like,
I'm sorry.
I don't know how to tell you this, but they're closed, and I just ate your entire ice cream. And of course, it was like around that time of month, and she was pissed off at me. I was like, oh no, I'm in the doghouse.
Yeah, I can feel that.
So it happens, but yeah, I'm not proud of that one. Now I get her 2 Halo tops.
Yeah,
just in
nice
case.
Yeah. That's nice.
But so speaking of, I mean, like being around people that are going to elevate you, you're also in great shape. So tell us a little bit about your journey there with, because I didn't really like, you meet somebody, you kind of find out later. Obviously, I could see that you're dedicated in the gym, but you have your card. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So currently, for those of like a lot of people don't understand like the federation. So there's like untested federations, and then there's like natural federations. So I am currently in the process of going for my IFBB pro card.
I've heard of that. Yeah, I don't know what
it's like. It's like the big one. Like sponsorships can come out of it. Blah blah blah. I'm actually currently sponsored, so I don't really care about that. It's more of just like a long-term goal that I've had. But I've actually been competing for 5.5 years. From the transfer from Catholic University playing lacrosse, where I only went one semester, I didn't even play a season. It was kind of like, I know I'm not going to play lacrosse afterwards, so I want to focus on academics. Yeah. Transferred to University of Delaware, but in that transition, I knew I loved the gym. I wasn't playing lacrosse anymore. I was like, I need something. So it was either MMA, which I had never fought in my life except for like karate when I was like 5.
Right.
And my mom also hated the idea of concussions because I had several from lacrosse, or bodybuilding. And my uncle, or my godfather rather, just so happened he used to be an NPC judge. So he judged people to get their like IFBB pro cards.
Okay.
And I went to him, I'm like, dude, like I know you used to compete. How do I do this? What do I do? He was like, I got a coach. I'm going to set you up. Put me in contact. I texted him. I'm like, I'm ready to start. Like, boom, like paid him the next day. And we hit the ground running. I believe it was like, I was in like athletic shape. So I was already pretty lean. So the preparation time was like a month, just him getting to know my body. And then we hit it.
Right.
So from like start to finish, I think I started in January. I competed in May.
That's quick.
Yeah.
Seems quick to me.
But I dropped like 30 pounds.
Jeez.
And I was already like lean, like 185. My first year I competed 154. And I'm 5'10" for reference. Like I was
Holy crap.
I could like see like ribs, and I was just diced like.
So when you say like it was a physique competition?
Yeah, so bodybuilding. So essentially, you have like strongman, where they pick up things, put them down.
Right.
You have powerlifting, they pick things up, put them down.
Yeah.
And then bodybuilding, where you look up pretty up on stage, you get a spray tan, and you flex on a stage. It sounds really weird when you say it out loud, but
I know what you mean. Yeah. What's the world's strongest man? What's his name right now?
Right now?
Yeah, the big bald guy.
There's like, it was like Eddie Hall, something Bradshaw.
I think this guy's name is Marshall anyway. But so there's the guys that pick that shit up. There's the guys that like do cleans and snatches and all that stuff, and then there's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Which
there's also CrossFit. I mean, there's so many. Like people just take the word fitness and run with it.
Yep.
If you find some way to pick something up in a different way, it is now considered a new form of fitness.
Right. Oh yeah, you're right. Marshall Hooper, I think, is what his name might be.
Okay.
Anyway.
So
that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah. So
you've been doing that for like 5 years.
So that was back in.
So you were probably 18, 19 years old.
2018, I was 19.
That's crazy.
Got my natural pro card at 19 years old.
And how did that first show in May go?
I won the whole thing, and I got my pro card.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. So you had to win to get the pro card, or
Yep.
No way.
Yeah. First place in the Open, and I did that, and it was kind of one of those things. Like going into it is like, I'm not playing lacrosse anymore. So I want to do this to say I did. And just like you see like everybody on social media, you're like, how do you get like that? And usually it's drugs, but like, I didn't know that.
Right.
So I was like, I can do that. I just need to have someone guide me.
Right.
I think
that the blueprint.
It also transfers into business, like having a mentor, having people guide you who have walked the walk and talked the talk before you.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Going back to master networks, like you said, getting in touch with and meeting people that have already done the things that you want to do. It's the same concept, what you just said right there. As far as like having a bodybuilding coach, like somebody who knows, has done it. Okay, show me and I know I can do it.
Yep.
As opposed to starting a business from scratch and not really knowing what to do versus buying a business, which is already stuff already in place. That's cool.
Yeah. Something you touched on the other day when we talked and you did your presentation was like the bodybuilding and the journey that it kind of puts you on, and how you get to, you said you get to know yourself a lot better through this journey, and it's a long time. So you competed last at 19. It's been what, 4 years, 5 years?
Yeah. So in between that time, I've done a total of 6 shows.
Okay.
So my very first time competing, I did 2. 2019, so a year after, later in the year, like August, so like a year and a half really, I did 2, and then another year and a half, which put me in like 2021. Actually, that was like more like 2 years.
Yep.
That was November of 2021, the last time I competed. Was the Natural Olympia in Vegas and Mr. America in Atlantic City.
Jeez,
and then I was kind of like, all right, like had my fun, but like now it's like time, like I know I can, really achieve this goal. So, but yeah, what was your question again? The mindset?
So just the, so like you're on, every time you train for the next one, it's like maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And you said it kind of takes you on a journey. You get to know yourself throughout that process because it is such a dedication for such a long period of time. And we've talked to some people on here, like myself included, who like weight loss journey. Like I was in good shape, played college baseball, got really out of shape, and then I had to like work my way back to that over the period. But like just take us through that mental journey of dedicating yourself to something for that long and kind of what it does for you mentally.
Definitely. I think dedicating yourself to anything over a long period of time and having that consistency and that discipline to wake up, do the same old boring stuff day in, day out says a lot. And it speaks for itself in terms of results that you get. But yeah, I mean, I actually, kind of going back to Bedros Keuilian, he has something like I forget how many days it is, but it's a so many day event, and they have a hell week, like a Navy SEAL training, like Bud's training, where they put these guys through literal hell. They make them stay up for 5 days, and it's like a mock Navy SEAL training. So it's a consistency that go-getters and these highly successful entrepreneurs understand, that devoting yourself to one thing over a long period of time produces massive results for your mental capacity, which then results into every aspect of your life. I kind of worked the other way. I didn't know what bodybuilding was going to do for me, but I mean, that first prep, like I got the stomach bug 5 weeks out, and I was like 156, like throwing up, wasn't able to hold anything down for 4 days. My mom was like on standby watching me, like ready to call for an ambulance, because I was zero body fat and I couldn't keep anything down. Like, we're just pumping the Gatorades, and like that wasn't in my diet. So I'm like, I can't drink that. So we're doing like 0 calorie Propel. So I'm like, I'm dying. And, it was just, I called my coach on like that 4th day. I'm like, dude, I feel like death. I'm not competing. I'm done. And he was like, all right, let's talk tomorrow. So I kind of had it in my head. I went, like I had a burger that night. I was actually able to keep it down, and that was the only thing that kind of like boosted me back. Because in my head, I'm like, I'm done. Called him the next morning, and he kind of talked me through. He was like, listen, like you can either finish what you started or live with the fact that you left something on the table. Yep. I was like, you motherfucker. So sure enough,
right on you, bro.
Yep. Sure enough, I buckled down. That last 5 weeks went harder than ever, and that show I got my pro card.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this journey that was like, holy shit, like I can do this.
Even when you don't want to, or even when you think you didn't want to.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the biggest things that people can take away from, like, not only can you do something that you think you can't do, but you can do it even when you don't want to, or like when you're afraid to do it, and
or even your body rejects it.
Yeah, and that's like when you really make progress.
Yeah. I mean, like David Goggins, his body was rejecting him. Yeah. Like on his first 100-mile race.
Yeah.
Rejecting. He was like
fathom that stuff,
peeing blood, and like just sounded terrible, like lost all his toenails. Like to put yourself through that physical objective, but like the mental capacity that you need to go through that, and that you learn about yourself. And this is kind of like, I think what you're like tying into was the spiritual journey that I talked about, that that's what it was for me. And going through, I didn't realize it until you get to a place and you're just like, there's one thing like to devoting yourself over, a certain period of time, but something like Navy SEAL training, I'll never say Navy SEAL training is like competing for bodybuilding, because those guys go through it. But it's a similar concept, I would say, is like, not only are you doing this day in, day out, and it's hard, but your body is fighting against itself. When you're like, I was like sub 3% body fat.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So when you're doing that for like a month or like a couple weeks, like the days just are so long.
You want to eat this desk.
Dude, I was dreaming about burgers and sushi. I would wake up
Yeah.
sweating thinking I cheated on my diet.
Yeah.
And it's just it's crazy because you have to find something to pull you through that. You can't push through it. You got to find something to pull you through it.
Yep.
And for me, that was really turning to religion that helped me a lot.
That's awesome.
So just like, really like reading more scripture and, going to church. Like when I was in the University of Delaware, like I would walk by the chapel, just pop in when no one was there, just get on my knees.
Yep.
And after that, it's kind of like, it's not just you going through it. You have somebody by your side.
Yeah.
For sure.
It makes it a lot easier. So that spiritual journey is,
It's amazing, man.
yeah,
I think that's really cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. Yeah, funny you say that. So doing 75 hard, I would also wake up in the middle of the night and think that I was like 70 days
That's what it
in,
is,
like 5 days
75.
away, and I'd be like, did I eat something I wasn't supposed to eat? And I have to freaking start over. And that's only 75 days. So like a year and a half of that.
Dude, that's what I do with sobriety. I will dream that I had a drink. Did it the other night. I woke up and I was like, am I still sober? Like, I'm like, it's crazy. That stuff happens.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's happened to all three of us like that.
Yeah, that is, it is. Yeah. And it's like your mind never really, like people think you get sober or you get in shape or you get to this, point in your life where you're like past something.
No.
Your mind's never past it.
No, bro.
Nope.
And that's like
You just learn how to deal with it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like pure proof of it. That's why, people say like I'm, recovering or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like your mind always is, you have to continue to sharpen that aspect of your mentality and be intentional about it, or else your mind will go to the burger, the drink, the food for me, like whatever it is. I
think like before we move on from this, because this is like really important, I feel like too, is I feel like everybody has that trigger. And, I can't speak so much for females because I didn't grow up with sisters or anything. Like, so I don't fully understand that aspect, but I know from guys at least, like we all deal with something that tries to rope us back into a bad habit.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Because
I agree with that.
It's normalized. It's, everybody just, it's just normal, but it's not. If you want to be like a better version of you and get to where you want to go, you can't fall into that trap of, oh, it's okay. Like, one, this won't hurt, because next thing you know, you're down that rabbit hole that you've been down before.
100%.
So,
yeah, we just talked about this last night, my wife and I. We were talking about kind of how we're all living in this matrix of expectations that other people have, and it works both ways. So the one way is like you said, oh dude, like come on, like have a drink or eat, like you're not gonna have fries with me, like come on dude, like you're having another salad or you're whatever, you're not gonna party with us. So that expectation goes both ways that way, and the fact that like, well, you should do that because we're all here doing it, and you have to fight that. And then the flip side of that is like, I guess really not the flip side, but things like what we go through with homeschooling. It's completely against the norm for the most part. I mean, it's becoming more popular now, but like we homeschool our kids.
wonder why.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and
100%.
you feel like this, kind of expectation of like, that's just the way, what do you mean you're not like sending your kids to school or you don't follow a curriculum or, but it works with all these different things, and we've all experienced that. So, and as like, so with drinking, how is that with bodybuilding and like your prep for that?
In prep, you can't.
So you don't drink at all? Like,
Nope.
how often? Or like how close to when you compete, I should say?
So I honestly, like, as soon as I, like, pick a show, which is usually well before I even start, like, actual, I don't even want to say prep because it's more so dieting. Like, I'm always technically in prep mode. Like, my next show is 2025. Like, I'm preparing for that. But, you know, I'm living life right now, and I've learned to have that quote-unquote balance right now when it is acceptable, when I am building those relationships, when I'm not actively getting ready for a specific show that's X amount of time away. So I allow myself to have that flexibility, but normally it's like, I would say a good 6 months is a reasonable time to cut out any little bad habits, and really, you know, turn inside and be like, all right, we're doing this.
The discipline aspect.
And do you feel like pressure when you don't drink? Because this is something we've talked about. We had actually our most popular podcast. Like we talked with Chris, who's in our group.
Yep.
He's also sober. He doesn't drink at all anymore. Jason, how long for you?
It was a year in March.
So over a year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
That's awesome.
And I've went like, you know, a few months at a time, which, you know, is still though, but you feel that pressure of like, you know, I don't know, your buddies or your whatever, the people you're around. It's just socially
world,
acceptable. Yeah.
Well, let's just say I went to my fraternity parties with a water bottle.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I would peel the label off.
Yeah.
So
It's
like,
like vodka.
yeah. And I would go, anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, it is, of course, there's always going to be that pressure.
Yep.
And a big thing that I learned was everybody likes to say, oh, one bite or one sip or one
Something.
peak, one something will not hurt. Yes, but it might.
But that's
Why take that risk?
Yeah, and that's breaking a promise to yourself.
Yep.
And that's dangerous because we know when we lie to ourselves. And like when that slips from the conscious to the unconscious and you are not truthful to yourself and your subconscious knows it, and suddenly you are lying to yourself, and that's a problem. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
And so like that one slip, like especially when you've told yourself I'm not going to, and then you do, that switch is like you just lied to yourself.
Yep.
It's a big problem.
And it starts a real slippery slope
Dude.
with all different aspects.
Yes.
And it's a huge internal conflict when your actions don't align with the words that you speak.
Dude, congruence is so important, and I'm learning it like actively right now. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Like if what you say does not align with what you do, like you're just in constant chaos with yourself.
Yep.
Constant.
Yeah.
And that's something that is really tough to learn. Like I'm nowhere near that.
Yeah.
Like
say.
but that's what I'm striving for. Like the words that come out of my mouth, I want to live what I say because it's dangerous, man.
Yeah, this is huge. And this is something that like 75 Hard the mental aspect of 75 Hard that really taught me is you kind of get to hear your internal dialogue when you're sticking to something. And it's no different, I'm sure, with like the bodybuilding prep or any other thing. But you get to hear this internal dialogue of like trying to talk yourself out of it and then debating with yourself and like, am I going to do this? Am I not? Like, I'll bag today. I'll start over tomorrow. All these things that go back and forth in your head. It's this like internal battle. When you commit though, and you're committed, it becomes easy because you're like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to drink. I'm doing this program. Or yes, I am going to get up and work out. I'm not going to sit here and wrestle with myself about, am I going to get out of bed or not? Like I'm committed to this. I'm going. And then tying that to everything else that you do in life. And it's something I'm learning too. I mean, I've gotten involved with so many things recently that I'm like, is this really like what I'm telling myself that I want? And if it's not, then it's kind of a tough decision at points because you have relationships that you're like, I might have to damage a relationship because I've told myself that this isn't moving me in the direction I want to go.
100%, man.
You got to have those non-negotiables.
Yeah.
It's non-negotiable.
Yeah. That's why they call, yeah.
Yeah, that's really where I think that's probably one of the biggest things that separates people that actually achieve the things that they say they want to achieve. Is that they are true to themselves. What they live is what they say, or vice versa. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think of my dad with that. My dad was he was a very like black and white. It's like one way or the other, and he was very he would stick with that to the point where it was like he seemed hard-headed, and some people like, you know, abrasive almost, but it was like he was good. He's good with his decision. I'm going to stick with it. This is the way it should be, and this is what I'm going to do. And he would stand for that. And, you know, I hope I get there at some point, because I really don't feel that. I feel like I'm almost too, sometimes like I just don't want conflict, so I kind of go along with things, and I'm like, shit, dude, I don't really even want to do this. But now I said I would do it, and, you know, if it doesn't align, like I feel like I need to make a stand there. And even something you said, when you were playing college lacrosse, I played college baseball past the point of knowing I wasn't going to play pro baseball. You know what I mean? And it was like, I'm going to do this because baseball was my dream, and I just wanted to like push it as far as I could. You had this realization, like, well, I'm not going to play professional lacrosse, so I'm going to go to the next thing that I can do. You know what I mean? So I think that's at 18 years old or whatever, however old you were, that's
pretty mature.
Yeah, I think I was 18 when I made that call.
Yeah.
18, 19, I just turned 19.
And then when you found the business, you quit your job. Like, you have this track record of, like, I know this is what I want, go.
So I have had problems with impulse decisions growing up. I've actually learned to pivot that and use that to my advantage to analyze the data, understand the risks, which my mom helped me with. You know, what could go wrong, what could go wrong, what could go wrong.
That's what moms are for.
Yeah.
Many stories with that one throughout high school. But yeah, you know, it's really, I've been able to pivot and understand that it is an advantage in some aspects, where making those decisions and being like, I'm doing this.
I'll figure it out.
Yep. It's, you know, come hell or high water, I will make this work. It's sink or swim. Like I have to. It's a non-negotiable. I don't have a choice. I think that is like, you know, very important, especially in like the entrepreneurial world.
Yeah, definitely.
But there is a fine line of making educated decisions.
Right. Not being reckless with it.
Right. Because it can be reckless.
Yeah.
But I've learned to hone in on it and be able to, you know, pull the trigger and be, you know, content with my decision to do so.
Yeah, I think that's a very mature thing at 24, even at 18.
Yeah.
I'm 34, and it takes me a long time to do the little stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we know some successful entrepreneurs that are very much that same way.
Yeah,
of like,
I think that's a pretty true mark of somebody who is successful. They're decisive, and they pivot pretty well too. You know, if they're doing something to make a decision and it's not going, then they pivot out or they pivot to something different
quickly.
Yeah.
And I think me and you have talked about this recently. So we just recently switched companies, both of us, and the people aspect of it and not wanting to hurt people really, you know, is kind of on, I know for me, and you've said it too, on like our conscience, where it's like, well, this, I do know this is what I want, but I don't want to hurt somebody or leave somebody behind. And then it takes longer to make that decision. It's kind of grueling. It really, like, you put yourself through the ringer when you do that.
The longer you hold on to something that like you have doubts about, or like you think maybe you should do, man, it just eats at you. And that just impacts you across the board.
That's the thing too, is like, you guys have families to worry about. Being on the younger side, like, I can make those split-second decisions. And I mean, again, like, they may look split second from the outside, but like, we're talking like maybe a week to make like a life-changing decision.
Yeah.
So a lot of thought goes into that, but a lot less thought does than potentially somebody who is already on that 9-to-5 track record, or has kids, or has other heavy expenses that they have to worry about. Like, that's a huge jump. You know, I was renting at the time with my beautiful girlfriend, but like, we don't have kids. We just got a puppy, but like, you know, it's, I don't
that's
have,
awesome, by the way.
Thank you. Awesome. He's Bernese Mountain Dog. He's,
Dude, what a great breed.
Don't get me started. He loves dogs.
Don't get me started.
He's got nothing behind those eyes, but he's cute as shit. I'll tell you.
Man, that's cool. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. Yeah, I love him to death. But yeah, that's my little family. So those decisions are able to come much quicker.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I don't want people to think like, oh shit, I can't make those decisions. I have so much to think about. Like, you do.
Yeah, but there is so much pressure on kids, like, to know what they need to do by 18, 20, 22. It's like, to be honest, like, what you're doing, 20s is like I don't want to say go and screw it up, but like
No,
you can.
yes.
In your
Yes.
20s, you can go and
Screw
it
it
up.
all up and learn, and then
Yeah.
do it over again. And
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because we're all just pushed by school system and parents and friends to, you got to go to college and do X, Y, and Z. And by the time you're 22, you need this job and you're going to stay in it. And it's like, that's not really how you develop the life that you actually want at all. You're just living somebody else's life at that point.
Yeah. And other expectations that are just, around you.
Figure it out. In your 20s, figure it out. Like, do everything.
Escape the matrix.
Yeah. Seriously, I made a post about that this morning because we were talking about it. And it's spot on. And I think, you take control over that when you make that commitment. And like you said, you've tapped into this like back against the wall, no other options mentality, which, like you said, at the end of the day right now, if for whatever reason something didn't work out, like you have time to pivot. You're not going to lose your house or your family or your, whatever. But you've tapped into that mentality of like, no, we're going to make this work. This is my only option.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
And again, it comes with that like thinking ahead aspect too. Like I have an engineering degree. I don't not know that.
Yeah.
That is a fallback. But I don't like to tell myself that.
Yeah.
Because if I know that there's a fallback, why would I go all in on something when I know that I have another option?
Yep.
Like you have to be so narrow focused that like all you see is that plan A, and then if it doesn't work out,
Then worry about the rest.
yeah, but even at that point, just keep hammering
Yeah.
it. Like there's no way it's not going to work out, because then you can pivot. You can find something else. You can use those skills that you accumulated throughout the process of learning and failing to then do what you actually want to do. But there's no reason to just even have a plan B. Really, like it is the smart decision. But I will never use that.
That'll hold you back from.
Right.
Yeah, like if you got the parachute, then I get it for sure.
It gives you an out.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have the plan B.
Exactly.
And there's a difference between having a plan B and using it as an out and knowing that you're going to make it no matter what. Because I kind of feel that way. I'm like, look, if the mortgage business industry goes away and there's no more loan officers, like I'm going to be fine because I know that I'm not going to fail.
Right.
It might not be at the same thing, but I have that mentality of like, I know I'm not going to fail. But with that being said, it's not like I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should, look back here or like go back to something I know I don't want.
Yeah.
Well, because then you're stuck right back in. You just put yourself back in the rat race.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very dangerous.
This has been awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other
Love
questions you have?
No, I'm good. You always ask me that every episode, and I always say no.
Yeah, and then after maybe you
gotta have like a list of questions.
And then as soon as we stop recording, Jason
I'm like, hey,
starts
Joe.
talking again.
Oh wait, yep. I got like 5 questions.
Yeah. So I just want to bring this up because it's something that you share with me, Joe. Is the diet you're eating right now? Like
The diet
you,
that
like
I
you
am
showed me your spreadsheet.
Yeah.
This guy is meticulous. Obviously, you have to be, right?
Yeah.
You're training for a competition, but eating how many calories a day?
5,200 right now.
Holy shit.
5,200 calories.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, to me, it's crazy. I mean, I know it's for what you got to do. It seems it's mind blowing to me. I guess is the better way to describe it.
It's actually maintenance right now.
Yeah, that's insane.
Because I've worked up to like 6,000. I did that for 8 weeks, and that wasn't fun. So 5,200 is kind of the sweet spot, which sounds insane right now because my metabolism isn't crazy, but it's just
Yeah, I would imagine that's more than double what I'm eating. I'm probably 2,700, something like that.
Yeah, same. And when I said that to Joe, he's like, he said something like, but I'm a different person in the gym. Like, I'll just leave it at that. I'm like, dude, there is no doubt in my mind. Like, I know for a fact if you're putting down food like that and like.
So how much do you weigh right now?
217.
Okay.
That's actually, sorry, 216 this morning.
You were 150 something at that
154.
competition.
My last competition in 2021, I was like 161.
So what will you be at the one in 2025?
Hopefully like 197. Wow. So we're looking for a 30-pound increase on stage over the course of 3 years.
And you were saying too, like you cut down before when you're in the cut, you cut 30 pounds, 40 pounds, something like that.
Yeah, I can usually expect to cut at least 35, 40, 45 pounds sometimes.
And at what time period?
In like how long?
Yeah.
Like what the time frame is?
Yeah, like in that 30 or 40 pounds, is that 6 months time period?
20 weeks.
Okay.
20,
now I got to do math. So that's 4 or 5
22.
weeks.
Sorry,
5
yeah.
months.
Roughly 6 months,
you guys
right?
talking weeks.
Yeah. around there, a little shot, like 5-6 months, something. But yeah.
Wow.
And what are your calories cut down to, just out of curiosity, during that period?
That's a really good question, because at the end, like, you know, it's kind of like the coach's discretion. Like, we start carb cycling, so like my low days will be like 1,600, which is crazy low, but then my high days will be like 2,200. So it's like, you know, what's that average? What's my expenditure? So it's really tough, but.
Wow.
Yeah, before we move on, I really want to touch on something that kind of popped into my head when you mentioned that I sent that text of like being a different person in the gym. And it sounds crazy, and I coach people as well, and I also help them with this. So it's really cool to see that mindset change, because I'm sure you guys heard of, you know, training to failure, and what that looks like for each person. But my goal is to get that to be actual failure for people. So one of the ways that I explain that to people, and kind of the mindset that you have to go to, and this correlates to everything really, like in the entrepreneurial mind space, or the space and everything. It's like, kind of, entrepreneurs talk about it like switching to like from David Goggins to Goggins, being like this guy to this guy. And you got to switch that mindset. And something in the gym, people imagine different things, but you know, it's kind of graphic. So like, I'll just forewarn with that. But, you know, if I'm like under a leg press or like a heavy squat, like I imagine on that last rep, like it's coming down on me. I will like imagine like to like my left or my right, like somebody has a gun to my little brother and my mom's head. And if I don't get that rep, I see them pull the trigger and they're gone. So it's like, it's not even for me anymore.
It's not an option,
It's like, you know, creating that dark space in your head where it's like, I don't have an option. I need to get this. And you are able to find, like, tap into like something like, you know, get 2-3 more reps than you ever thought. Like, you're shaking, you're like throwing up, you're like about to pass out, you're seeing stars. But like, that's the place where you have to get to be the best. And I'm sure people will find a way around that, but you can't, like, if I stand on stage against someone who's just genetically better than me, but I know that I went through that training and I couldn't have pushed any harder, I'm fine losing to that guy,
right?
Because I did everything in my power. Like,
didn't leave anything on the table.
So
it goes right back to what you were saying. You know when you cheat yourself, and in the gym, in your diet, and whatever else, in your business, and
everything.
So if you know that you literally gave it everything you had, I mean, you left it all out there. That's all you can ever ask. But you have to tap into something deep to get there.
Yeah,
you know, like you just said, and that's.
Sorry to bring the
I appreciate you sharing that,
the podcast.
It's true though, and like, you know, even there's so many examples of that I could think of too. That you know, when you have a family, things like that you're like, you know, I had to go through the same like mental things. Like, if I don't make this work, then the outcome could be something just catastrophic for my family. So, it pushes you harder than you could generally push yourself.
Yeah, and a lot of it is made up in your head.
Yeah.
Well, most of it is, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know, you don't have that darkness in your life, but you know, when you do make that up, you're able to leverage the things that matter the most to you to be able to push yourself harder. Because everyone says like, yeah, I have a family, I'm doing this for my family, but like, imagine, just, you know, that dark place, and it will push you so much harder.
Yeah.
Like, leverage it. So
it'll remove those constraints that we put on ourselves that don't really exist.
Yep.
Yeah, this has been awesome, dude. I appreciate you coming out, you know, and sharing your story. It's been great to get to know you over the past couple months or whatever it's been. And, you know, look forward to seeing your business develop and grow. Look forward to the next competition you're in. So, yeah, it's been awesome, man. Appreciate you coming out.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you,
brother.
Jason. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it.
Well, what's the best way for people to like find you or reach you? Like Instagram or?
Yeah, so our website is squeakycleananddry.com. That is all extensive carpet cleaning to, you know, we do also furniture, hardwood floor, tile and grout. That's kind of like the cleaning division. And then we also have a division for water damage restoration, as well as mold remediation. We even have, you know, this cool little thing we do for like cigarette smoke removal. So that like the odor, if people are selling their homes, we're able to come in. We're actually able to completely remediate that, free of that smell, and people are able to save like $30,000, on their listing price.
That's
so
awesome.
pretty cool. So all that information is on the website. I'll actually drop our phone number as well. So it's 302-729-2011. That goes directly to my cell phone. So that's the business number, but I am pretty much
You're the business.
being younger, I'm always on my phone,
Yeah.
getting those calls. So I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm happy to help in any way I can. So yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just end on this. So you did pick a business at least that I don't see a ton of your competitors out there. So I think you guys made at least a good choice with that.
I would say and with anything, there's going to be those big dogs.
Yeah.
Like on the cleaning side of things, like obviously Stanley Steamer is like, I just called Stanley Steamer because the carpet cleaner.
Yeah.
And then like the mold remediation side, you do have like, some bigger companies.
Yeah.
I won't name drop them because I won't plug them because
Yeah.
we're the best. But yeah, there's always going to be big dogs that you're fighting against, especially with insurance companies and trying to get on their vendor list and, make those relationships because it's easy for them. They know they have the capacity and they know they are going to show up. But, we're here to make that change. And because most of these people don't want to use them because they've had bad experiences in the past. And they want to do their customers right. So we're here to come in and step up and be that option A at the end of the day where people can turn to and be like, I know I'm giving my customers the best that they can get, and they're very fairly priced. So I'm cool with it too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, love it. Appreciate it again. Guys, appreciate you watching. We're still getting people that are tuning in. They're letting us know when we don't post something in a timely fashion on a Friday morning. So I appreciate that. We apologize for the, little bit of sporadic posting here, but there's a lot going on. So we're going to get back to it. We're making a commitment to try to get in here once a week. So appreciate everyone out there. Guys, it's been fun. We'll see you.
Go Birds.